Adi, please start.
Hello, everybody. So we welcome you at the Keynote by Leeb on Patternshift, and we'll start with a brief introduction. Hello, Chris. Could you join us?
Hi, nice to meet you all.
Yeah, just briefly introduce yourself, your company, and you can start with the slide share with our audiences. Thank you.
Okay, yes, my name is Chris. I am in the startup scene since 15 years or so. I am Austrian, so in Europe, and I have incorporated startups both in Europe and in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto. So I know both ecosystems quite well, and I know all the troubles of startups and corporates and all new technologies very well. And it's my aim to think about what has to be changed, what should be changed in future. And this is about the patterns we are using. That's the contents of my talk.
Thank you, Chris. So please share your pitch deck with us. So if you can share some slides on your topic, that would be great. And we'll follow on with the Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, okay, I will start. So here are my slides. So I call it pattern shift. Yeah. So what I really think is that we have to shift our patterns. Okay, let's go through quickly. To make it clear, 42 Angelitos, it's a company, the virtual company with many professionals around the world helping startups, helping entrepreneurs. And C, Leeb operation, because my name is Leeb with 2E, is my personal brand, so to say. Yeah, okay. So pattern shift, but I think everybody's doing, we are thinking and acting in patterns. So one pattern is that contents follows the structure, step-by-step approaches, plan, do, check, act, all these things, top-down approach, history and future, etc., etc. So we have patterns to make our life easier, right? And one of the interesting patterns is that we try to predict the future out of the history, out of the past. We do it everywhere. If you look at the weather forecast, if you look at stock markets, if you look at financial forecasts of companies or startups, everywhere we are trying to predict the future. This is one pattern which is really global, active. And you may know the book, The Black Swan, it's saying that the black swan is something you can't predict. It's suddenly there. You can't see it from the past. It's suddenly there. It's like COVID. It's like the financial crisis we had several years ago, and it's beyond normal expectations. So nobody can have these expectations. Otherwise, we should have been prepared for that. We aren't. So you see it everywhere in science, finance, and society and technology, of course. And the explanations we are coming up with then are only possible after the event, and most of the time, these explanations are wrong, are completely wrong. So the black swan, there are some examples of positive or good black swans. Yeah, nobody has had a clue 10 years before how Google is doing, or Tesla, or Apple. Nobody knows app stores. Let's say 15 years in the past. So there are black swans suddenly coming and dominating much of what we are doing and what we are using now. And there are also black swans in the negative side. You know, maybe in Nokia with the smartphones, which didn't work when Apple comes. And also Kodak. If I ask the next generation about Kodak, they don't even know Kodak. Yeah, even if Kodak had the patent of digital photography, they are not surviving. So black swans are always there, and we do so as if we can't see the black swans. We are surrounded by black swans. Just an example in the car industry, in the automotive industry, because this is very important in Europe, I guess. So it's a major difference. Coming back to pattern shifts, it's a major difference if you say, well, the car is a highly engineered technology for specialists, yeah, with all the motor and the gears, etc., etc. And from this way of thinking, a USB plug port is just an add-on, which is okay. You can buy it if you like. Why versus the other pattern, where you say, well, a car is an app on wheels. So it's a completely different approach, a different pattern. And this what we see now is that if you compare automotive industry in Europe, for instance, also Japan, by the way, with automotive industry in Silicon Valley, There is the big difference. And nobody really understands in Europe what it means to change the pattern. Okay, so the examples here, I'm not quite sure if, for instance, Volkswagen didn't manage to download the instructions for a car as a PDF, if they understand what the pattern digitalization really means, just as an example. I have the feeling, working also with corporates and startups, and have lots of experience and knowledge on that, that there are many walking deads out there. So the walking deads, I mean, they are focusing on the patterns of the past, trying to help each other to try to keep startups out, to do some projects maybe with them, but not really from the heart, and ready to change their habits and their beliefs. So the walking deads are around us, and that's exactly what I think we have to shift our patterns. Not more of the same. More of the same is not better. More of the same is just maybe faster to the wall, nothing else. So we need to shift our patterns. And pattern shift, it's not so easy, because you have to leave your comfort zone, you have to break the rules, you have to forget everything you have done so far, you have to be agile, always on, funky, but also in the flow, keep swinging. So it's more like a musician in a jazz band. By the way, I'm a musician in a jazz band too, so I know exactly what good music is about. So you have to be in the flow. You have to not think, just be as a human. That's the task we should focus on, everybody worldwide, so to say. And the trends are clear: digital, mobile, blah blah blah, sharing economy, crowd, everything can be done by the crowd, and everything will be connected. You know that, people connecting, social networks, things are connected, Internet of Things, just to have some buzzword there. And of course, the things with the people, etc., everything is connected. So from a technical point of view, there is no problem. We are really good on that. Also in other fields, like, let's say, for instance, transparency, the blockchain, for instance, or privacy, cryptography solutions everywhere. Sounds good. Also the usability of many of the technical devices and gears are really good, or becoming better. Let's put it in that way. And we have some value add everywhere, or the other way around. If you don't add value to something, you will be out of market, out of conversation, out of everything. So that's the ideal situation. There is no time to change, no time to prepare, which is for many people a problem. For me, it's not. It's just surfing on the waves, not trying to swim without knowing how to swim. And what I see, there is a huge demand from the next generations Y and Z. This is my observation. On the other side, if I'm not so optimistic, and if I'm looking back and looking to some of my friends and some of the companies I know, this is not the reality. This is something we think from a startup's perspective, which will happen, to the good, to the better world, etc. What is really on this world is a clear no to all these positive changes. And I'm asking why. In the real world, we have COVID, this is hopefully the curve, more or less. So the COVID will be shrinking. The number of COVID-infected people will sink. But what I see all the time now, there is a dramatic increase on bad webinars, on wannabe experts, on how to work. No changes, so people are coming back to their jobs, not changing any habits. So they are blocking all the others trying to change the world for a better future. And there are many excuses. So the excuse is, let's say, the opposite of the maker. The maker is just doing something, and the excuser has always some excuse why not to start doing something. So this is what I realized, that many people in corporates, in companies, in organizations, they are not changing anything. So there is ignorance, there's racism again. You have seen that. There's nationalism, which I don't understand. Why we should focus on nations in such demanding times. There's corruption everywhere. And there are fatal, in my mind, fatal competitions between humans, between organizations, and also between nations. So it's not the idea to say let's find something against COVID, but there's a race between America, Chinese, and European scientists to find something. So that's not the way we should proceed, in my eyes. Okay. Money, of course, money is important, but if you look what's going on with money, money dictates everything what we do. And if you look at the startup world, especially leading edge startups with leading edge technologies, they are feeded a little bit from corporates or from public funds or from venture capitalists. But sometimes this feed is not enough. Yeah? They don't get enough. They have to struggle. They have to pitch everywhere. There are, I don't know, 15,000 accelerators and incubators worldwide. So no chance for a startup to really go to the market quickly in a wide range, to reach a wide range of people. So that's really a problem for many of the startups, because it's not only the inventor's dilemma, it's also the market entry dilemma, that it's very difficult to really reach, let's say, the world. If you look at the initiatives, just to name a few of them, Democracy Now, the Arab Spring, or nowadays the Friday for Future, there are initiatives but really no consequences. Yeah, and if you look at the social media and social networks, there are bots and trolls and fake news everywhere. Yeah, and it's increasing. That's the dark side of the medal, so to say. Okay, so what I think, what also happens on a personal level, this is not my personal feelings, because I'm completely, I'm not in this category. I'm completely different from many of my peers I know. But on a personal level, many people have no clue how to work remotely, how to bring in their uniqueness into the work. They have no idea of their personal future. They're just doing something. Okay, there is fear. I don't know if you have looked at fear. I have the feeling that fear is a very powerful mean of not doing anything. And what I'm seeing is that it's business as usual in most parts of the world. I see governmental initiatives as usual, and I see also education as usual, which is terrible for the next generations. So what we really need is a pattern shift, so the way we are thinking, but we also need a social shift or a society shift, or call it whatever you want, to really change the world. So my observation is that we are really good on technical innovations, so as a green. If it comes to organization, how we organize our work, or living together, or our organizations, we are very weak. And it's really bad if you think of social innovations. Yeah, we don't have social innovations, and we need them to really use the technology we have already in a better way. Just an example, I have lots of discussions with my sons, and also with the generation, their friends, the generation Y and Z. And I can't understand why we still believe that they should learn something in a school from a teacher, and try to store it in the brain. They will forget it anyway, and you can Google everything, what you need. So education doesn't work. Why should you wait for an answer if they can ask the world immediately? Yeah. If you have a question, just ask the world. It's possible now. Everybody has a smartphone. You can do that. Just don't wait. So the structure of education to learn something and then act on the learnings is the wrong approach, the wrong pattern. Or look at this. Yeah, I see many young people who are really makers. They want to achieve something. They're just starting to do it, and then learn to become better and get some advice from friends, also from the internet, etc., till they have achieved their objective, their goal. And what we are trying to do is still that they should learn something they don't need and try what they don't like. And then we have some examinations on that. That's completely a waste of time, waste of a whole generation. And it's also true for the companies. Yeah, we are trying to put them into the corporate world, yeah, with hierarchies. We call it then employee branding or employer branding. So that it's very important for the company that the brand is overall, that there's some brainwashing for the employees. This is completely out of scope for me, but it's terrible true for many companies around the world. Instead, they could start their own business. They could start to work together over the internet, not only over the internet, but also over the internet. And they are blocked to do so. That's my feeling. So what I really believe is that everybody should try to live his or her unique life. And what I see is that most of the people, they are dying as a bad copy of the last job description, okay? So that is not the objective of life from a, let's say, philosophy point of view, okay? So the next step we should achieve, and I ask everybody out there to help to move in that direction. The next objective we should achieve is that humans recognize other humans as humans. This is one sentence, but it's really hard. I can't see that, although I'm always optimistic and trying to work as an entrepreneur with many startups towards that goal. But I have the feeling we are in a minority still, which is a pity, which is really, really a pity. So we need new patterns. That's my shouting out. We are all humans, yeah, treat each other as humans. If there are differences between humans, I love that because I can learn. So that's my definition of learning, to understand differences and try to find common sense to act together to build something new nobody is building. So that's a completely different approach, different pattern. Instead of competing each other and try to compete machines, try to compete nations, that's a silly pattern, which is not fit for the future. We have to save the earth. I think it's clear, but it's far away from concrete actions everywhere. And we have to support innovation. As a very curious guy and a very innovative guy, I see so many people not only doing no innovation, which you can't force them to do so, but I see many people trying to stop my innovations. Yeah? They are trying to stop change. They are trying to stop startups. And for instance, if you look at it this way, a startup competing in a competition with a jury, where the jury has to nominate the best startup in a list of startups where the startups don't meet each other on the market, is completely senseless. Yeah? So this is a way how to stop innovation, to have some pitching events out there with some people in a jury who don't have any clue about startup life or about the technology or the market the startups are addressing. So this is also something where you have to think of, that we have wrong patterns to support the startup world. Yeah? We have to connect peer-to-peer on the same level, from eyes to eyes, no hierarchy between people. And we have to try to understand each other. Yeah, even if you are from different cultures, different social backgrounds, different languages. Okay, but we have to try to understand each other. And there are lots of more new patterns we have to force and to make into the living. Okay, to bring it one step towards me. Because everybody can say we should or you should, yeah. For me, it really means I'm a human and I'm open-minded. I live in a way to save the earth. I support innovation all the time. I love to connect to others. If you look at LinkedIn, for instance, or Twitter, I have lots of conversations over there. Just as an example, And I also love additional contacts if they have this new pattern. Now, this is very important. I don't have time to lose my time on people with the wrong patterns because they are not moving. They are not giving back. So this is a dark hole where nothing comes out. It's a black hole, like astronomy and physics. And always try to understand other humans. So what I'm calling out here is saying, well, if you have cool new startup ideas, if you have new technology, that's great. But think about how it can change with your startup, with your technology, the organizations and the society in a better way, and globally. So that's the challenging issue. And this is not very easy to achieve, because if you look at the startup world and also on blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and these are all good attempts in the right direction. But what I'm seeing out of, I don't know, 5,000 plus pitch decks and business plans I've read and commented, that there is always a wrong pattern, not addressing the society, not addressing the way the psychology things, the way how we should change or how we can make that we change. So on all those great startups, on all those great initiatives, please keep in mind that we should try to grassroots, that we should try to reach out to people who are, let's say, who have almost the same basic patterns. So, and for all the others, please think about your own pattern shift. That was it. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you at several networks and social media. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. And what would be your recommendation for startup leaders today? So you mentioned a lot of behavioral changes and shifts in the paradigms. So how can they adapt to these changes?
The first thing is, what I've learned is that many startups are just starting the startup in the city where they are born or living, not thinking where they should be. Yeah, so there's a difference if you compare, for instance, Europe and within Europe, different cities, and for instance Silicon Valley. There's a completely difference, and they are starting with the wrong pattern, saying, "Well, I'm here, so I have to start my company here." And then they are struggling with the surroundings, with the politicians, with the organizations, with the grandma saying, "Well, this is not a good idea to start a startup," etc., etc. And then the next step is saying, well, let's focus on the market which speak the same language as I'm speaking. So, for instance, as an Austrian, many of the startups in Austria start in Austria, which is an 8 million people's country. So there is no market. And then they try to expand to Germany because they are also speaking German, and to Switzerland. They are part of the Switzerland where the people are speaking German too. This is the wrong pattern, the wrong approach. So the first step is think about the environment, think about where to start the startup. The second is try to really find an international multicultural team. Yeah. I see so many startups working together with some friends they know from their childhood, but not the best experts. Yeah. And forming a team is not an easy task. Yeah. But it's very important to have the best team in the world in terms of different topics, but also in terms of the same mindset, the same culture, the same DNA. Yeah. And the third is try to really focus on how to can you orchestrate the market entry, because this is crucial. There are so many good technologies out there, good products out there, but no clue how to address the market. So these are my three suggestions. Comments.
And what would you recommend for investors while selecting potential global leaders and unicorns, and how for startups to compete with this global platform solutions such as Amazon and other guys who can actually work on predicting patterns of behavior for the future, assembling lots of big data? How for new emerging players compete and actually exist on this market?
Yeah, first of all, just a remark to big data and predictions. Yeah, we have also some startups running in that field, which is great. But it's only great if you have the right data. Yeah, if you have wrong data, for instance, if you have data from the past where women were not allowed to vote or not allowed to buy, then we have a wrong prediction to the future, and machine learning predicts a future without women, so that's the wrong approach. So you have to think about what data are you using. So just a side mark. For investors, I see the same problem for investors. Yeah, if you're an investor, let's start with business angels. Yeah, business angels. The problem I see is that they are too national. They have too much focus on nations, where they are born or where they're living, because they know the legal system there, that they know some friends there, and they are trying to invest in companies, in startups in their own country. Okay, so this is not a good approach. I understand that it's difficult to dig into a completely different legal system somewhere else, but this has to be done. And the second is, for the investors, they should really try to build relationships to other investors, to other business angels around the world, not only in one single country, not only in let's say in the same language area. The next question: how to compete with Amazon? You can't compete with Amazon. Yeah, we had the discussions many years before when Amazon just started this box. I remember that discussions. And everybody was saying, no, this is impossible. Yeah, and this is the first step to really say no, to really don't change something. So what we need is that whenever a startup, an entrepreneur is coming with a crazy idea, that investors say, well, let's listen. Okay. So my first question, for instance, for new entrepreneurs when they are approaching me is, I'm asking, does your technology, does your solution, does your product also work on Mars? Because we will be on Mars in no time. So this is, they have to expand your thinking, because when you understand what the startup is doing as an investor, you are too late. Yeah, you have to try to understand the potential of a startup. And many business angels don't do that. They just want to invest money, get some money back. That's all. So it's a money business, not a business for a better world. Coming to VCs, okay, it depends. But normally VCs have a management team. They are trying to get a multiple out of the investments, which is okay. But on the other side, the problem is that's not their own money, and they have structures in place where they are trying to filter the unicorns out of the bus, and maybe they are doing the wrong selection criteria for that. Yeah, not all of them, but most of them are doing that, because the focus is not on a topic or on a, let's say, future world. The focus is on how to make multiples of the money. So it's a completely different pattern. So investors should really try to understand as best as they can what the future will bring, what the future will look like, and they should try to support that type of future with their money.
Thank you so much for your comments. And would you like to address our key audiences, which are serial entrepreneurs and startup leaders and VC investors? What should be in the focus of their attention, including these future trends, and how to keep up with the pace of these changes, including technology and human behavior, which is not that fast in adaptation as technology?
Yes, I really would recommend that the focus shift, or the pattern shift of the focus should go from technology to social behavior, to people's behavior. Okay, to understand why people are reacting and acting, and try to address curiosity. Because if you look at childs, they have curiosity all the time. Otherwise, they won't stand up as a baby. Otherwise, they won't not discover the world. So we have to relearn this behavior of the babies in our world of adults. So this is my advice. try to be silly, try to combine things. You never think about that this could fit together. Try to laugh as much as you can, because if you're laughing about great silly ideas, there is something which will really be something for the future. If you're just too serious, if you're just too straight, you miss the most important thing.
Thank you so much, and we welcome you to join our different formats of events as well, which are roadshow, speech competitions, and fireside chats, and the keynotes which you presented, and advise us also if you want some new forms of collaboration within our community. And we wish you all the best for the rest of the week, and see you online for our further